Hello, everyone, and good afternoon. It is a Monday, and we all know that Mondays is the Change Book podcast. And this Monday is just the same as all the others. I'm going to bring you an absolutely amazing guest today. And this lady's I read her bio, and I can't wait to hear from her. So let's get her started today. Her name's Helen Eimers. Helen, how are you today?
I'm doing so well. So happy to be here, Nicole. Thank you.
Good, good. Thank you so much. And what I want to know is, why did you choose the Change Book podcast or the Change Book? I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Change Book chose me, actually.
Ooh, okay.
I was going along my business and I had someone reach out and say, hey, we just read your bio. We love what you do. We want you to be a part of this incredible journey, this incredible story compilation that we have that is changing the world, truly. First, I thought it was a hoax, I got to be honest. And I showed my husband, he's like, seems fishy to me. And then I met Jim Lutz and, he hopped on the phone with me and we got connected and I started going to the calls with him and Jim Britt. And just the power of being in proximity of the two of them and all of the other co-authors. I'm like, this is a beautiful opportunity for me to share my story, to collaborate with other co-authors, and really just to get my foot wet, right? Get my toes wet with publishing my story, the written word that is meant for me to share. So it chose me. I wasn't looking for it. I had always had plans to write books and I have a journal coming out in 2025, but I wasn't actively looking at the time, but I was in a season of yes. And I was saying yes to so many things. And this was one of the things that came along during that season. And I'm so grateful that I trusted my intuition and I said yes.
I feel the same way. And I love the fact that it's about empowerment, insights into empowerment, because each and every one of the authors, and we have we're on book 23 now, and each one has 20 authors. And that is a lot of insight. So I'm so glad I did it. I have to tell you that, like you said, the authors that we've met, each and every one brings something unique and amazing to the table. And what I want to do today is highlight your unique and amazing abilities. So tell us about yourself.
So I live in rural South Dakota. I've lived here my whole life. I love it here. It's so beautiful. And I have been a nurse for 16 years. I was raised in a family of helping. I call my dad a professional volunteer, bless his heart. Small town, everybody knows him, everybody knows us. And so I went into nursing because I had that same spirit of just helping and community. And I love being a nurse, but I found myself really burnt out. My thoughts were really clouding the work that I was doing. I cared so much and I just felt like I couldn't make a difference. I was talking to you about this before, Nicole, but I'm an Enneagram 3. I'm an achiever, right? So if I'm not, seeing results, either myself or for the people that I work with, that was hard for me at one point in my life. And I felt like I was doing, but not fully receiving and not opening up to that. And also working with clientele who, I remember being in my director nurse's office crying like I'm a new nurse and I'm crying. I'm like, why would my patient lie to me? I just, small town, very naive. I didn't understand why when I gave them the discharge instructions, they didn't listen. And then 2 days later, they were back in the emergency room. And I'm like, I'm not making a difference, right? I'm not helping enough. And those deep-seated beliefs and thoughts came from my people-pleasing tendencies, right? For all of my life, I have been the hype girl, right? I didn't want to see anyone sad. I didn't want to see anyone down. I tried to cheer everyone up. I made jokes about myself to make people happy. And on this journey of self-discovery, I have now learned and live into the fact that I cannot control how other people think or feel, right?
Boy, that's the truth, isn't it?
Yeah. Kind of long story short, I got really burnt out as a nurse, and then I was having kids, had young kids, and I've always been someone who loves change, and I love to experience new things, and I love to learn. Oh my goodness, I love to learn, and I love to teach, because when we teach, it helps us learn even more. And so I shifted into clinic nursing, and I pursued a job for 2 years as a nurse case manager. It was an online job because I just, Googled work from home nurse. And this was back in 2012. And I pursued this job for 2 years. I wasn't qualified. Barbara, the gal who worked there, was a very small company out of Washington, D.C. She's like, how did you find us? Right. And I'm like, here's how I found you. And I just was persistent, professionally persistent is what I like to call it. And I still and always have been that way. So after 2 years, I got my dream job of a nurse case manager working from home. Like, this is unheard of, right? Especially in a small rural place. And, I had friends and family, God bless their heart, but they were like, they're like, Helen, they're not going to call you, right? They're like, we're like kind of sad for me and me, thinking about this dream and then it not happening. So long story short, I was a case manager at home for 8 years. And then I became the nurse trainer for that company. It was an incredible opportunity. They were based out of Washington, D.C. I would travel. I created training supplies. I onboarded all of the new nurses. And it was an incredible opportunity because I am someone who loves to invite and welcome and connect. And so everyone felt welcome when they came on. They had me there to teach them, to make them feel comfortable, to make sure I connected them to the right people because I'm a connector. And after doing that and continuing to work on myself, I just had a beautiful, beautiful transformation physically and mentally. And so I got into health and wellness coaching because I needed to share that with people. People were asking, people needed that. And I found that all of the clients I was working with, they'd get really great results in 30 days. And then after the 30 days, they'd shift back into the old mindsets, like when I wasn't, kind of holding their hand. And I said, I want to help women make this change on such a deeper level. And so I shifted to life coaching, and I have now found that all of the most incredible clients that I work with are very passionate. They are mission filled. And that means most of them are womenpreneurs. And so that's who I support now. I support womenpreneurs to amplify their energy, their influence, and their income. And it starts with their mind, right? It starts with their thoughts.
Absolutely.
And I do that with my experience of nursing, 8 years of coaching, hypnotherapy, energy work, heartfelt spaces, and my spirituality. And it's just a beautiful collaboration along with the strategy that we need to do the work. And I'm just so blessed. I'm so grateful to do it.
And I can tell that you when you talk about it, you come alive. So that's my first indication that you love it. But I caught something that you said, and I want you to expound on this a little bit, is you worked on yourself first.
Oh, yeah.
Right. Yeah, I know the I know.
And I still am.
It's so important because for me anyway, I can help people because I went through it. I was mired in a lot of things that the people I'm helping are mired in now. And I think that to really adequately help our clientele, our friends, whoever we're working with, we have to be pretty solid in ourselves to begin with. What do you think about that?
Totally agree. And again, for most of my life, I was a people pleaser. And so I wanted to create a feeling and a thought within other people about me, right? I wanted them to like me. I could not stand if someone didn't like me. Oh my gosh, I did anything and everything to make people like me, which led to a lot of self-sabotaging, actions, events, thoughts to get people to like me. And it was so much easier. And I know this is probably why I became a nurse too, but it was so much easier to help other people than it was to look inside and to take care of myself.
It's painful at times.
Yeah. And it still is, or can be easier to say like, yeah, let me help you. But yet I haven't done that for myself yet. And so it's an awareness that's really beautiful. And, there were some pivotal moments in my life that you can read about in my chapter in the Change book, pivotal moments like my husband saying, I can't talk to you, right? Because I just toted so much the first 7 years of our marriage. We have a great marriage. We never fight. We get along so well. Well, we didn't fight because I couldn't have a conversation. When it got hard, I walked away, right? Because I wasn't in a space to receive and to have, let's say, an adult conversation or conversation about hard things because I didn't like confrontation. I wanted everyone to be happy. It was like supposed to be easy, right? And so it was me working on my own mindset. And I remember so vividly when I made this decision, and making this decision can be hard because we all have pieces and parts of us from our past, our present, our future that maybe weren't our true self, right? We made a decision. Maybe there's some shame or some guilt, right? Like, again, a lot of self-sabotaging behavior because I wanted people to like me. And so to put yourself out there and say, I'm doing this, and know that you have a past, a history. People know you from your past and your history. I remember sitting on my bedroom floor crying and saying, I need to do this for myself. And at that moment, I started a group called Be Better Than You Were Yesterday. I went live in the group. It was real. It was raw. And it was just like, I need this. I need this. And I just started inviting people, and it got bigger and bigger. And there's over 700 women in there now.
Oh, wow.
And it's shifted over the years, but like, be better than you were yesterday. And that's really where it all started. But it was scary. And I, even now talking about it, it's like I can feel that emotion, but I did it, right? Like, there's always going to be fear. Right. And it's not about, hiding from it, because that's what I did for years, right? Hiding from it, not acknowledging it, but saying like, wow, I see you, but I'm going to do this anyway. I'm going to be just an ounce better than I was yesterday for myself, right?
Yes. And you're giving people permission. You're not telling them what they have to do each day. If that just means getting up and combing your hair for that day, that's okay. If you didn't do it yesterday, do it today. It's a little thing. And I think that's what hangs people up so often, is that they feel this pressure to do something like phenomenal, like all of a sudden write a book or, do something else. And it could be just brushing your teeth that morning, for people. So I see that you're flexible. Now, did that help you get over your people pleasing tendencies when you started, when you started understanding yourself?
Oh, absolutely. And when I coach my clients in the Amplify Academy, we talk about building your $1 million identity. The more you know yourself and your tendencies, right? We were talking before this, that like I am not always or have the most fun being a logical person. I love to dream, and I love to have shiny objects, and I love to create and have new ideas. And then there's like the logistics of things. And my husband's very logistical. He's a realist, and I'm a dreamer. And, I had a good friend in a cohort recently say, she's like, Helen, you're a dreamer. You keep saying that, but you're also a doer, right? And so when you are able to know yourself, right, and then shift to self-love for yourself, it leads you to a path of freedom from that people pleasing, from feeling scrutinized, right? And when I can let go of judgment, right, I can step forward. Judgment of other people, because right, if we're judging other people, that means we're judging ourselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so you can read about it in the chapter, but my definition of success used to look much different, right? It used to mean climbing the corporate ladder, right? When I got the dream job, I was heading to the top. It was corporate. I felt very special. I loved what I did. I was getting on a plane every week or every month and like, ooh, look at me, And
you were a little jet setter, weren't you?
Yeah. And it was, and there's a piece of me that misses that, but I also realized that I was doing that for the wrong reason, right? My values were not aligning with, my personal values. I had 2 small children at home, right? And so it really meant so much to me to be there for them. And so it's so important to pause and notice what those values and the vision you have inside for you, not what anyone else wants, not the comparison. We've talked about this a lot in my household with my kids recently. It's like comparison is the thief of joy.
Ooh,
right?
Yes.
And for anything, right? Even you saying like, well, they took out the trash last time, or I took out the trash the last 2 times. I'm like, even catching yourselves in moments like that, right? Like, oh, they gave them rides, 2 times the last time. And when you can know yourself and love yourself, and again, my definition of success has changed over the years. And that true definition of success for me now is being able to look in the mirror and feeling with your whole heart, I love you.
Is that is like just an awakening. And when I went through my divorce, I never even realized you could love yourself. It was really odd to me because, I loved my kids, loved my dog, loved my siblings and parents, but it never dawned on me that I could love myself until I started utilizing forgiveness to
Yeah.
get through, to heal myself, utilizing forgiveness. And it just dawned on me. And I thought, oh my gosh, I never had that thought go through my mind. So how powerful do you think it is to love yourself?
Oh my gosh, I just felt this relief of the power that it holds. But here's the thing, right? Like, this is why affirmations don't work. Because if you look in the mirror, right? I like to help my clients create power statements, right? We have to feel it. And if you
Yes.
can't feel I love you yet, there's always a bridge thought that we can, help you step up the ladder towards, right?
Beautiful.
And so I don't want you to just stand in front of the mirror and be like, I love you, like Valley Girl type, because when you do that and you don't believe it, you will feel worse. You'll be like, oh, then you'll feel like disgust.
Right. And that you're not successful, and that takes you down even lower.
Right.
Ah.
Right. And I know I can say this because I've been there, and it sounds like you've had this experience too, right? Because there was a time when I look in the mirror and there would be disgust. And if I would have said, I love you, number one, I couldn't say it. And I shouldn't say couldn't, but like I chose not to say it. And number two, if I would have been even more disgusted because I didn't believe it was true. So I help women find bridge thoughts to get them there. But when we can, come forward with love in all that we do, and a lot of times we don't even realize what we're saying. We don't even realize what we're believing, not because we don't care, but because it is so ingrained in us, right? It is just something we've always done or thought or said or believed, or there's external influences, or we're needing to, hold up to someone else's standards or make someone else happy. And as a mother and a wife and a woman,
yes,
right? It's like everyone else comes first.
The shoulders start getting really heavy. It's like, oh my God. Can you give us an idea of what a bridge thought would consist of?
Absolutely. So if you were to look in the mirror and say, I love you, and that doesn't feel authentic, I want you to find something about yourself that you do love. Right? So like, I love when you care for other people, right? Or I love how straight your teeth are, or I love the shirt that you're wearing today. And it can be something, superficial if you need it, like a piece of clothing or but when we create a feeling of love, no matter what it is, we can continue to step into higher feelings of love, right? But the goal is to create that emotion within your body. And then what it does, it's almost like contagious. I had one client say, like, this is just contagious work, right? Like everyone can see it in me, everyone can feel it in me. They're like, what are you doing? What's happening? And that is the energy that we can create for ourselves and then share with the world, right? Mother Teresa says, you want to change the world, you go home and love your family. Your family is yourself as well. And so it's so powerful. Often, again, like she says that, I'm sure maybe there are some of you who never even thought, like, the family means me too, right?
Yeah. Well, we always just think of our kids, our husband, our animals. And it's so odd. Women, we are so hard on ourselves at times that we're literally excluding the glue that keeps the family together. Isn't that the truth though? Sometimes, we're always putting others others first. And I kind of had to relearn to insert myself into that part.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what is so powerful about coaching and surrounding yourself by people who support and encourage you. As a coach, I'm willing to risk the relationship to help you become your best person, which means I may draw attention to your thoughts, or I will draw attention to your thoughts. I will question your thoughts because I want to teach you to learn to do the same thing. I remember one of the very first therapy sessions I went to. You can read about this in my book as well, about the questions she asked me. But another question she asked me that isn't in the book is I said, I'm just really hard to live with. And she's like, who told you that? And I had never, ever stopped to think who told me that. And number one, even if my husband would have said that, which maybe he did, because he is kind of like a comedian, kind of like, they
Right.
sit on
Joking
stage
around.
and then, but it's like, I know he still loves me, but nevertheless, that is what I believed. And even when, especially because like, I love humor, I love to make jokes. I used to make jokes about myself to make other people laugh, right? But we don't realize that when we say that, even if it's just for fun or if it's with the girlfriends or we're making people laugh, like when we say that, and if we believe it, we are then showing up that way. We are showing up as someone who's hard to live with. So then guess what I was doing subconsciously? I was trying to make it so easy for these people to live with me because it was hard to live with me. And
Yeah. Isn't
where
that
did
crazy?
where did that come from? So that is just an example of one belief, one thought that we can have. And it's just a little example. So think of all those maybe thoughts
Oh,
running around in your head.
yeah. And we can sabotage ourselves with our thoughts.
Mhm.
They say to talk to yourself in the most positive way, because you're the one that's going to react to those words
Yeah.
oftentimes. So you have to be really careful. And one of the things I see that you do, and I want you to talk about that, is you help people release emotional blocks.
Mhm.
Like, from big to small, or do they come to you with them, or when you're coaching, do they come out? How do you recognize them?
Great question. So I help people with coaching and hypnotherapy. I'm a trained hypnotherapist, and that has supported me along with my nursing and all of the background skills that I bring to the table. I help women feel what's happening inside of them, right? Because we go along our days all day, right? I actually shared a video yesterday about immersing yourself in gratitude, because yes, we can be grateful. Yes, we can say that we're thankful. When is the last time you felt it in every part of your body?
Ooh,
And when we again create that feeling, we get to create more of it and more of it and more of it. And so what I love to do, I know that I used to say this all the time. It's like, I just know I can help anyone I come into contact with. I know that. I have a full belief in that. But I didn't really know what it meant. And I know what it means now. It means that I help people discover themselves, which is always helping them. Because when I question someone's thought, when I say, hey, what did that feel like in your body? When I say, oh, where's that at? And what if you shine a light on that? Then how does it look? What if you ask your heart or your spirituality, maybe God or a higher power for you, what would they say? How would they show up for you in this moment, right? So it allows women to see things from a different perspective other than the ways they've been telling themselves the stories, living through the stories for most of their lives. A lot of these stories are created from when we're children, right? And we
right,
don't even
right.
realize it. It's subconscious. And
Ugh,
so again, when I help women discover those pieces and parts to them, like it's like the blocks, maybe they're struggling making money, right? That might be a block that got started when they were 4 years old. And it's
wow.
incredible to help them come back to that place from a place of love and support and encouragement. And again, it's not that it's not there, because we want to acknowledge it and then support women through it, because again, for years, and what most of us do is we just brush it under the rug, right?
Right.
Like there's fear there, or I'm angry. Like I can't be angry. I don't have time for anger. I'm just going to like brush it under the rug, right?
We
Right.
can't deal with this today.
Yeah. Or like me, it's like, I call it the Hallmark syndrome, right? It's like everything should just be beautiful, and, men should show up and know exactly what I want from them, right? My husband literally has told me before, like, I don't know what you want. You have to
Tell me.
yeah, you have to communicate. But I lived in Hallmark syndrome for a while, right? No negative emotions allowed, only positive. And I know that on this call, I've been talking a lot about positive emotions, but you guys, life is 50-50. You will have positive and negative emotions, but when you can learn to acknowledge them, right? You can't shift anything unless you acknowledge it first.
Right.
It's like
Absolutely.
trying to change the color to green, but you don't even know that it was red to start with. Like it just
Exactly.
doesn't make sense. And it's not valid. And so when you ignore it, which is what we often do, or we buffer, right? Like, I don't want to feel this, so I will get a dopamine hit doing something else, right? Eating something, drinking something, scrolling my phone, whatever that is. So as women business owners, we have to be willing to feel the emotions that it takes to have the business of our dreams.
Wonderful. And I know we're getting to the end of our time, but I want you to talk a bit about your Amplify Academy.
Absolutely. So the Amplify Academy is a program that I created, which is a collaboration of all of the coaching I've done over 8 years. And it takes women step by step through a process over 9 months of support and encouragement to build and continue building the business of their dreams, right? It helps them amplify their energy, right? Because when we have thoughts that make us feel emotions like shame, guilt, anger, fear, it drains our energy, right?
Yes,
And it
yes.
also helps them amplify their influence, because as a passionate woman, you want to share an influence. You want to influence people. That's why you got into the work that you do. And sometimes when we get into the work and we get into the weeds, we're like, oh, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. This is really freaking hard. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm exhausted and I don't feel like I'm making the difference that I planned to make or that my vision made, right? So we help that vision really come into what it means for you and what's important. And then of course, we support you and your mindset with amplifying your income so that you can share, right? Like generous, right? When women who are very passionate and mission filled allow themselves to receive money, they do incredible things in this world. And they're so generous. And that's what I've seen over and over and over. And so when we can continue to support women on this journey of entrepreneurship and of just being passionate and mission filled in this life, it's incredible. So you can feel free to message me and we can have a call about what the Amplify Academy can support you with.
Well, it sounds absolutely amazing, as are you. And I could listen to you all day because you're speaking my language. But I would tell all of our listeners out there that I have put all of Helen's links in there so you can get a hold of her. But boy, this is a lady who could really help you on your way. I am so impressed with what you talked about today. But more so than that, I am so impressed with your passion for it, because when you talk, it resonates. It absolutely resonates. I mean, you have that beautiful smile, the cheer, and you can tell that you absolutely love your work. So before we go, leave a nugget for our audience.
Leave a nugget for our audience. This is a nugget from my book. And what I want to share with you all is that you are the gift. You are worthy. You are worth it. And so I encourage you to grab a copy of the Change book, the 22nd edition. I can post a link under this where you can order my copy specifically. And this message came to me so beautifully that I want to share it with all of you. And I want you to embrace, right? Like if you can just look in the mirror and say, you are the gift, just start there, see what happens there and see what happens in your body. Take 1 second to notice what that feels like. And you will continue to create more of that love and that abundance within yourself. And when you create that in yourself, you change the world.
Wow. That's really, really powerful. I'm going to start doing that too. So I'm taking your advice, Helen. But thank you so much for being on today. Your message is so important for men and women, but you've been an absolute joy today. So thank you for coming on. And to everybody out there, touch bases with her, get her book. It's, she is amazing. So let's keep this going.
Thank you.
We are the gift. Yeah. Thank you for coming, and we will talk soon.